I think we need to go through some more of these hermetics. I want to talk about pulling yourself together and meeting your higher self, and how it's depicted in the different books, scriptures, scripts. It's all been cast. We've been cast into the script. When you talk about Eve being removed from Adam, is when we were divided. We used to be one. This Adam was, if Eve came out, then he was androgynous. He was he, she. He was it. He was third eye. He could see God. After Eve was taken out and she ate of the forbidden fruit, then Adam fell. So let's talk about, and had to work and till the ground, because he had no more third eye. Now he had to feed the base chakras, those base desires and needs of the flesh, Jupiter. Hermes is Mercury on the mutable cross. He has two staffs, two sets of wisdom, and there are two wisdoms within each. He is an air sign. Nike has wings on his shoes. Religion has one serpent, and so does lunar. They each have a knowledge. He's got them both. Hermes has them both. He's got the crown. Venus, Mercury, and the crown, Saturn, the third eye. When I popped my crown chakra, I met my other half that was him. That is only one point of view, because my him was removed. I remember I've just been, they have nitpicked me to death and picked my brain since the day my mother put me in school. When I got in school, I already knew how to read and write. I watched Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Electric Company, Schoolhouse Rock. I was reading my sister's books. I hung on to anything I could because I needed to communicate Mercury. I had no vocabulary. I had to learn the language. It was very important to me. So they started nitpicking me. And by the time every time she moved me from school to school because it was causing disruptions and she didn't want to play their game, they would evaluate me. That's what they called it. I understood later I was being sent to psychiatrists. And I remember telling one of them when I was very young, they were giving me these MMPI personality tests and IQ tests. I remember telling him that I felt, and this was before I popped my pineal gland, I told him that I felt that my other half was missing, that it felt like I had a brother. I felt like that I was in the womb with my brother and he died. That's what it felt like to me. And that was the only words I had to explain it. When I popped my pineal gland, I had no words for that at the time. I still lack vocabulary to express to you what it's like. I wanted to stay there forever. I had pulled myself together. It was everything I needed. I was whole, complete. But my other half was masculine, and I was very aware of that. In the Quran, there's a teaching and it's very cryptic, and if you don't understand the language, you'll never understand what it means. But they talk about the brown-eyed woman, just like I talked about the one in the gap. And I understood that I seen my other half. I seen my masculine. But this book was written for men. Women weren't allowed to read and still aren't. And when a man pops his pineal gland, he meets her. This is something y'all need to know. because we were Adam. We were androgynous. We had an open third eye and no need of our left eye or our right eye. We were complete. So when you talk about these different informations, religion in the church is always going to talk about it in the solar masculine. Freemasonry, as we know it, that side of it, is going to talk about it in the feminine. Albert Pike wants us to worship Lucifer, which is actually masculine. It's Libra. It's the masculine side of Venus. They worship Venus as Isis in Taurus. So they need to pull the other half in, that masculine side of Venus and Libra. Those in the age of Aries who are ruled by Mars, their other half is Mars in water. They're all about fire. They need water to balance. Instead of getting the water from Scorpio, they got the water from Jupiter. That's mutable. The mutable water in Jupiter needs the fire in Sagittarius to balance it. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? I'm telling you how you need to balance yourself on your charts. Look at your chart. Is your Jupiter in water? Then you need to pull yourself together when your Jupiter is in fire. You pull these energies together to balance them. This is the teaching of Hermes. He taught it as Buddha. In the description box below every video, I always leave you links to Great Alchemy Book Library. Planetary linguistics. Learn the names of the planets in the different tongues. The 7, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, do not count. They rule no houses. I know in a lot of the astrology they are using Uranus to rule Aquarius. That was given to you by one of these two, because it ain't so. It's actually impossible. Aquarius is fixed. Uranus is about transformation. They're opposite each other. If anything, Uranus and Pluto, planets of massive generational transformation, belong on the mutable cross with Jupiter and Mars. I'm at Mercury with Jupiter and Mercury on the mutable cross. They should never be affixed, can be affixed to a fixed or cardinal sign, because they're there to transform. And that's what this age of mutable has been about. But it's also about this word Mayan, which means illusion, like the Mayan calendar they told you. And that was all illusion. Don't look with your eyes, look with your third eye. Pull yourself together and find your other half. They gave us freaking marriage contracts. It's a contract. We were subtracted. We need to add ourselves back together. We've been divided. And instead of multiplying back together, we breed and multiply. Lower chakras. Stop thinking in the lower chakras. Start thinking in the Mercury, Venus, Saturn chakras. Get out of these lower chakras. We are so divided. Republican, Democrat. Left, right, him, her. Adam, Eve. Patriarch, matriarch. It's a war. There's your war in heaven. Whose side are you on, right? Don't be on any side. Be on your own damn side. Pull yourself together. I always felt something was terribly wrong with these marriage contracts. The way they were written in this age, it benefited the man. The way they were written in previous ages, it benefited the woman. He had to give her lots of stuff before he could marry her. How is it in the ancient, even in their books, the man had to prepare a place for her, a house for her. He's betrothed to her, then he had to provide for her before he could have her. And then it flipped. The man you had to pay to get your daughters married. It was called a dowry. Do you see the difference here? They're both wrong. We got to pull ourselves together. Freemasonry can only pull itself together on the feminine. It won't even look at the masculine. And the masculine is the same way. We have the war of the sexes going on when we need to pull ourselves together and open that third eye. Get out of those lower chakras. This is what Hermes, Thoth, Buddha, they all taught. But it was taught encrypted. So those of the profane, those who were divided, couldn't possibly understand it. We have to have both to become whole. When thine eye, Balaam said, when thine eye be single, thy body be whole. About 6 or 7 years after I popped my pineal gland, I drowned in a swimming pool. And I realized I had a light body. And it was incredible. It was the next best thing to popping your pineal gland, is dying. I cried when I came into this world, fully aware. But every time I've died, I rejoiced. And that's exactly what Balaam said. We do everything backwards. We celebrate when a baby's born and we cry when someone dies. And we're supposed to do the opposite. And if you popped your pineal gland, you would. When I went to funerals, I didn't look at it like other people did. To me, the rose is a flower of death. That's what they give you at roses, and then they give them to you at Valentine's. Do you not question these things? Do you not see the two sides? Pull them together. We got an opportunity for that last year when we had an eclipse in Leo in confusion. We'll see it again in 2024 when the second half of that eclipse occurs and that big X is created right across Capricorn in the pineal gland, that third eye of America. Everything is about east and west. This is about balance. And in the middle of those two eclipses, we get a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn, and the door to the Black Lodge opens. In tropical astrology, it occurs in Aquarius. Doesn't matter. Saturn rules both. They're both under the sun and the moon, under the crown of Saturn. Under, beneath, ruling the lower chakras of the material world. But when Saturn and Jupiter meet, the two become one. Those of the profane and propaganda call it Nibiru. It appears that Jupiter is wearing Saturn's rings. Nibiru is an ancient name for Jupiter. Planetary linguistics. It's ancient Babylonian, and even the Arabs use it today. I've done the videos before 2012. I knew nothing was going down in 2012. It wasn't there. But it is in 2020. It's in all the iconography. It's been talked about and painted about. And when Fomalhaut hits that spring equinox, that's what the Sphinx is about. Then everybody will know. Some to everlasting life, and some to shame and condemnation. Self-condemnation, by the way, you're going to be ashamed of yourself because you didn't pull yourself together. You meet your other self and you have to say you're sorry to yourself when the two become one. The thing you hate is the very thing you need and are lacking. It's a love-hate thing, huh? It's about balance. When you choose one side or the other, you are in duality. It's about singularity. Isaac Newton was the dean of Trinity College, Trinity. But he knew that if he revealed his beliefs that he left for posterity, that they would slay him. Because in his own writings, he said God is one. It's singular. And I've proved that in the linguistics. We've been through it 100 times. God is one. It's the bringing of the two together. That globe, feminine Saturn with that masculine ring around it, that when looked at with the naked eye simply looks like a line. It looks like a circle with a line through it, through the ancient telescopes. This is great wisdom. We're able to channel all the planets depending on the chakras we're using. That's why I tell you, the bridegroom cometh at night when we're in the age of Leo, Cancer, and Virgo. We can go out and watch Thalum rise. That's your third eye. That's when you need to be in meditation, channeling those energies. It depends on Saturn, Jupiter, time and location. Jupiter ruling location and Saturn rules time. Being in the right place at the right time. And that door to the Black Lodge opens, that subconscious mind, and the little guy's there. If you're the big man in this world, your other self is the little man. That alter ego. People just switch from one side to the other. They have no middle ground. They're not grounded. In your charts, I've told you that chart can fold in half, and it's like calzone. It's a half a pizza folded over when both sides come together, pulling those Jupiters together. Saturn meets itself, Capricorn, Aquarius. Jupiter meets itself, Sagittarius, Pisces. Mars meets itself, Scorpio and Aries. Venus meets herself as Libra and Taurus. Gemini meets himself as Gemini and Virgo. And the sun and the moon meet themselves, Cancer and Leo, in an eclipse when the two become one. It's cycles within cycles, wheels within wheels. One day, all of the planets and the sun and the moon and everybody will align in Aquarius. One day. Because everything comes back around. And when they do, then not only will everybody's crown chakra pop, but you'll have the peacock. You'll have the rainbow. Because all of the lower chakras, all of the chakras are now in the upper heavens, fixed in Aquarius. We have the ability with technology, which is given to us by Uranus. Uranus had to get rid of the old ways. Technology came in right when Uranus was discovered. We understand what Uranus is, but by no means is it attached to Aquarius, other than that was the time or age coming in which it was discovered. It ushered in the age of Aquarius, giving us the ability to make these calculations because we don't understand. We were divided. I have half of the puzzle, somebody else had the other half. It was my other side. I had to learn to embrace it as one, pulling these two pillars together. Here they are separate. This is for control. Keeping them divided. Dividing the tongues. Arabic is flipped and jumbled Greek. Throw away the vowels, got your consonants, flip them around, your words appear. Egyptian is flipped, Native American Cherokee tongue. They were both earth signs. In this age, in this eon. Egypt used to be Babylon. It sits at 30 degrees and it looks across the water at itself in a city called New Orleans. And right there is, at the other, past New Orleans is Padre Island and Corpus Christi, the body of Christ. Padre, the Father Island, like a crescent moon there in the Gulf of Mexico. I've already done the videos that connect northern Africa and the southern part of the United States. The Mississippi River and the Nile are flipped each other. One is masculine, one is feminine. They're both under this eon earth signs. Capricorn and Taurus. During the age of Leo, Egypt was Babylon. The Sphinx, the lion laying down with the lamb, but it was looking the other way. The lion in the east, and the great teacher in the west dying, and we lost our pineal gland. We lost our knowing. We fell into confusion. But this time we will know even as we are known, because we meet our other half. We're contracted back together. Listen to that word. We contracted out, so we contraction back in. Jupiter expansion gives us contract out. It's about expansion. You contract it out to someone, right? Saturn is about contraction, expansion, contraction. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Saturn, Jupiter, bringing them together like the eclipse of the sun and the moon. We have two solar eclipses 7 years apart with a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in the middle on a winter solstice. Breathe in, breathe out. Some of you are going to be shaken to your core. And some of you are going to wish it would never end. Will you be on the left-hand path or on the right-hand path? Or will you be in the middle? Can you pull yourself together between now and then? This great work of alchemy is happening. This is the 7 years of Jacob's trouble. Are you prepared? Are you preparing in the lower chakras, Jupiter, Mars? Are you preparing in the upper chakras? Or do you have the ability to do both? It's in your natal charts. Thalem told us Saturn's only got 2 answers. And that's depart from me. I never knew you. Or well done, good and faithful servant. Home is where the heart is. Pull yourself together, Venus. Isis embraced Lucifer. Manifest it into the material world with your voice, Mercury. Be that Hermes. You've got Mercury is this great intellectual male mutable air sign in Gemini. But he's the damsel in distress in Virgo. Do you see? When the two become one, pulling yourself together. How do you do that? You look within. Deny your lower chakras. Embrace your upper ones until when your upper ones become whole, then you pull those bottom chakras up with them. They follow automatically. One day it will happen for all when it happens in the heavens. I can take Stellarium and go back thousands of years and show you when Thalem died on the cross. It's not when we're told. Each side tells their own lie because they only have half the truth, and a half truth is a lie. These guys believe in astrology and these guys believe in religion, and when you pull yourself together you realize religion is astrology, astrology is religion, and both of them are under alchemy, that magic circle. And it was given to you by Saturn, who rules astrology in Aquarius. That crown chakra, everything comes from what? The pineal gland of God. What is this creation? It is we are the pineal gland of God. When you mirror we, you become me. You have to flip yourself back, and me becomes we. And it's singular. We are one. Legion said we are many. The true truth is we is singular. When they put the Triple Crown on the Pope, he's no longer allowed to call himself I. He refers to himself as we from that day forward, and he is the only one allowed to do it. But he's still in confusion of Babylon. Pull yourself together. They know these things. The Illuminati use this, ruling the lower chakras of Jupiter and Mars. They're about materialism. They love materialism, Jupiter, and sex, Mars, war. They make money off of war. And division. And they think they can rule the world with the lower chakras, because that's where they keep you. With their propaganda, their media, they keep you in fear. They either keep you sexually stimulated, they keep you desiring materialistic things, or they make you afraid and throw you into religion, ruling you by your lower chakras. The sun, the moon, solar and lunar astrology. Jupiter, materialism, the physical world. And Mars, your emotions. Get out of them. Move up into your heart. And when you move those up, it'll fucking break your heart. You just want to die. It just breaks your heart when you have to look at all that filth and debauchery. All that pain, anger, and the profane that's going on in this world. All in those lower chakras. And it'll break your heart. But you're almost there when it does. A contrite heart. And you just break and cry. What the fuck is going on in this world? comes out your mouth, Mercury. Pow! Because it takes a broken heart, a broken Venus, to open that throat chakra. And you cry out, Mercury, that damsel in distress. And then, pow! That's the true way. It's through Venus and Mercury of the upper chakras. And once they're in the third eye, then you can bring up the debased things of this world. In purity, without prejudice, without hate, without fear. That tree of life and the tree of death. When the two become one, bringing it up, getting your full plumed, that plumed serpent that everybody used to have in the last golden age. And they tried to leave this information for us, but it was left for everybody. And a few stole it, and they divided it, and they use it to control us. And they'll flip from masculine to feminine to stay in power. They're using both sides. The only way to not get used is to walk the straight and narrow path, right up the middle. Letting go of both sides. And pull yourself together. You, in the word you, is in the word your is you. You are self. You are self. You are the knowledge of elf. And you know where we get the word 11 from? From the word elf. Its base root in etymology is the word elf. Your other self. The knowledge of the elf. The little man in Twin Peaks, when Saturn and Jupiter meet, the door to the Black Lodge opens and Pluto rules that subconscious mind using symbolism, not words of Mercury. For there are no words, they're all symbols. We all have our own cross to bear. 3 crosses, one here, and the one in the middle. Am I saying Gemini's on the cross? Gemini works with Saturn and Venus, the heart and the mouth. But because Gemini's on the mutable cross, he works with Jupiter and Mars. He's mutable. He's the messenger. That's why they call him Loki, or the trickster. Because it's encrypted, so that those of the profane will only enter into eternal punishment, self-condemnation. They don't manifest their light bodies, they manifest their dark bodies. We'll manifest one or the other, either lightness or darkness. Knowing or not knowing, staying divided and in confusion, and keep repeating this cycle they call reincarnation until you pull yourself together. Manifest your light body, it is immortal. That is what we are told to do. Become singular within thine own self. And don't go evangelizing. Don't try to force something on either side. It is theirs to choose. Just set a table. If they want to eat, they will eat. If it does not nourish them and they leave, let them go. But don't think you have to entertain them while they are around. Just set the table and let them eat. Plant the seed and let it grow. Don't worry about it. Everybody eventually will get there. Some it takes longer than others. Some are rabbits and some are hares. I meant tortoise, the tortoise and the hare. The one running his ass off to get it done is the last one there. The first shall be the last. All right. That is also speaking of Jupiter, because after the last golden age, Jupiter was the first out of the gate to fall. And he's also the last before we pull ourselves together. So it is about ideologies and religions, those fire and water of Jupiter, this physical world. When you talk about the physical world, when you talk about Saturn, you're talking about the non-physical world, that breath of life. There's a water of life and there's a breath of life. But then there's the etheric, that liquid love light. I call it liquid light. That's the only word I have. I don't have any other words to describe this. And it's love. It's liquid love that expresses itself in this honey white light. And it's where I would love to spend forever and ever and ever and ever. It's absolutely magnificent. But the kingdom is now, if you will simply go within. It's always been there, and it always will be. It's just we are so divided within ourselves. The woman has to find her man, and they've got us out with these contracts of marriages, when the man of your dreams is your other half inside your pineal gland. And you men looking for the woman of your dreams, it's your other half inside your pineal gland. In the movie Pi, and I'm not talking about the guy in the boat. There's another one that was done by these Jews, and it's about the number 216. And it's the number of God to the Jews, 216. I've done this. That's why you got to have the 144,000, because 216 and 144 are 360. It makes the circle complete. But in it, he's going nuts over these numbers in his mind. It's just driving him crazy about the number pi, 3.14159, and they believe somewhere in that strand is a 216-digit number that is linked to the name of God. And that's what they're looking for. And he goes crazy. He ends up popping his pineal gland, meets his higher self, and it's him with a woman's wig on. Now you know why the profane of this world, and like J. Edgar Hoover would wear dresses. Why the Pope wears a dress. Why men, what this transgender thing is manifesting itself in the physical lower base chakras instead of the upper chakras. It's manifesting itself in the physical instead of the spiritual. But they all must come together. That doesn't make it wrong. Because once you pull yourself together in the spiritual, the physical will follow. If you do the physical first, I don't know, maybe the upper will follow. Maybe the upper chakras and that spirituality will follow. But right now, it's in its extreme stage. Let's take, for example, what they showed us in Star Trek. In the space age is to pace the ages. And everybody wore the same uniform. There wasn't a separate uniform for male and female. They weren't looked at in that sense. Everybody was of equal authority. It wasn't the man dressing as the woman or the woman dressing as the man. The two came together as one. It was androgynous. It was uniform, one form. But to try to find ourselves, we start expressing it in the physical, because that need in the spiritual is so deep. And this is the age for that. This happens all the time. It's quite natural. And after all, it is nature that is God. God is one. It is the four elements all combined. Not only have we been divided, but nature divided, but what we understand or would call God has. Because the angels rebelled, right? And they moved into the lower chakras. They moved out of that crown chakra where they all ruled in the spirit in the upper heavens. And God is spread out in this alchemical circle. But he pulls himself together under Saturn. After we pop our pineal gland, when Fomalhaut hits the spring equinox, then we are in the dividing line between Capricorn and Aquarius, the masculine side of Saturn crown chakra and the feminine side. And at that point is when what we understand as nature or God, the whole of creation, comes together and is in perfection. And that age, Capricorn, is called cardinal earth, the most high. Venus is the most high of the heavens in Libra, that hidden wisdom of the heavens, as she carries that serpent of hidden knowledge and secrets. The moon is cardinal. She's the most high water. And when she rolls around this planet, she drags the tides. She rules water with Jupiter and Mars at her side. She's the most high of the water element. Aries, that ram who keeps pushing forward, and he burns everything to the ground. He's purification, the most high fire, intense, burning away. These are the feminine or the creative forces, and the masculine are the destructive forces. They are one cross. Capricorn is that black nanny goat, says, let there be. And at the other end of that cross is the moon, that is the destroyer. And as she moves the water around this planet, as the tides come in and out, they erode the shores. And those who live thereon, they fall into the sea, into her water. There's a moon ritual where you take the silver cup and you go to still water when a full moon is shining on the still water, and you take your silver cup and you dip it into that water and you drink it. I would say you would use a gold cup when the sun is on the water and drink it. When the two become one, you take a gold and a silver cup during an eclipse and drink the dark water. There are 3 rituals, but each side, I want this and I don't want that. No, you got to take it all. You're going to have to get a grip on contraction and contraction. It's a play on words, and they duped us. But we have the opportunity to pull ourselves together. One day it just will be done. And when they all meet there in Aquarius, all of them, a solar eclipse, They don't have to be lined up, but they all need to be in one of those 3 deacons for this to occur. If they were all lined up, it would be perfection. And then we can enter the age of Capricorn, that super golden age of Saturn, cardinal Earth, the most high. To be a pope, you have to be in the sea of cardinals, the Holy See. You have to be cardinal. In my opinion, you should not be in the Holy See unless you were born in a cardinal sign. And to be the cardinal of the earth, you should be born in Capricorn. Should be your sign, your Saturnalian sign. You should be born with the Saturn sign and moon in Capricorn to be a pope. And it appears from my studies, all of our popes, they give us tropical astrology, but using the sidereal, they're all on the mutable cross. This is the age of the mutable. He is the imposter. Jupiter runs expansion. He is the ruler of empire. Aquarius is about freedom, individuality, self-sovereignty, knowing, astrology, karma. A time of great learning and knowing like we have not known on this planet since let there be light. A knowing beyond knowing. We'll get a brand new magic circle that'll just raise us to higher levels of existence. We'll pull ourselves together and we'll cast out into the stars. Some people will become stars in the heavens. The Greeks, all of the great Greek tales and legends, Zeus or Jupiter would take them in his astrology and cast them into heaven. That's how come Jupiterian astrology is Greco-Roman. They both venerated Jupiter. And it is an incorrect astrology. It keeps everything divided. It's about the materialistic world and the lower chakras. Jupiter himself is divided. We all are. We run around signing marriage contracts because we think we found our other half. Contracts were given by Jupiter. Contraction, pulling yourself together, is given by Saturn. When you find yourself within, you have no need of another without. But you can find another one without, what you call like mind, somebody else that's popped their pineal gland, that's found their self, that's conducive to your chart. They do exist on this planet. Will you ever find them? Well, if you pop your pineal gland, you probably never have no need for that. When I first came into this world, sorry, I had to stop that. It was getting noisy outside. In my video letter to Joan, page 1, I talk about remembering before I was born and coming into this body. And where I come from, it was like a collective. We were all these little light energy balls, like little fireflies, and this blue liquid plasma, blue light stuff. And that another light, like a comet almost, had hit me, and it threw me into the sun, and then into the right eye of this body. And it was freaking traumatic, to say the least. It was being separated. I had never been alone, and now I was alone in this dark body. And nobody could hear me. I was talking to them the way I always had communicated, and they heard nothing. They were deaf, dumb, and blind. But I knew I had been divided, separated. I felt cast down. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand why this happened to me. Why was I here? When I popped my pineal gland, rubbing that magic lamp, I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't want anything from here. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be we again. Not me. It's lonely here. And that's another thing about pulling yourself together. The lonely don't hurt so much. You actually enjoy it. You're not lonely anymore. You don't have to look for another. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. I'm at peace with what I have. I'm very Saturnalian. Less is more. I don't require materialistic things. I'm not into anything Sin City has to offer. It tempts me not. I don't gamble. I don't drink. I don't care about any of that. I care about truth. I care about the people. I want this knowledge to be easily understood for the masses. I want the lies to stop. I want the division to stop. And Aquarius offers that to all of us. The great teacher, Thalem, that lamb, he offers that to us so that we can pull ourselves together. We can take these two poles, these four wisdoms that are even within religion. You have the oppositions. They face off against each other. Even in Freemasonry, there are two sides, the black and the white, the yellow and the red, the sun and Saturn, the moon and Venus. Well, air and water. Earth and water, air and fire. Air fuels fire. You put earth and water together and you get mud. We all came from mud, right? We came from mud. And we had to have the breath, the air breathed into us. We came from this side, the feminine, and the masculine air. It's alchemy. It's magic. As ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra, which are the stars in the heavens, so eloquently said, it's a strange magic.